Hello friends, welcome to my channel Anthropology Insights. So in today's video we are going to learn about the caste system. इससे पहले मैंने जो वीडियो बनाया है caste system part 1, there I have explained the theories of origin of caste system. So here in this video I will be discussing about the definition of caste system, its characteristics and also functions and dysfunctions of the caste system. Okay. सो इंडिया की जो कास्ट सिस्टम है इट इज़ अमंग द वर्ल्ड्स ओल्डेस्ट फॉर्म ऑफ सर्वाइविंग सोशल स्ट्रेटिफिकेशन. इससे पहले मैंने सोशल स्ट्रेटिफिकेशन का एक वीडियो भी बनाया है. सो यू कैन सी व्हाट इज़ सोशल स्ट्रेटिफिकेशन एंड व्हाट आर इट्स फॉर्म्स. कास्ट सिस्टम इज़ वन ऑफ इट्स एग्जाम्पल्स. It is the system which divides Hindus into rigid hierarchical groups based on their karma and dharma. So we get the evidences from Manusmriti, which is widely regarded to be the most important and authoritative book on Hindu law, dating back to at least 1000 years BC. Actually, it acknowledges and justifies the caste system as the basis of order and regularity of society. In the early Vedic period, this system was flexible, as I have already discussed in my last video, but in later Vedic period, it became rigid. So let's see some of the definitions of caste system given by some social anthropologists. So in general, the term caste has been derived from the original Portuguese word casta, meaning a group with a typical breed, race or hereditary qualities. The concept of caste system is unique to India, to be specific to the Hindu society. So according to Riesle, caste is a collection of families or group of families bearing a common name, claiming a common descent from a mythical ancestor, human or divine, professing to follow the same hereditary calling and regarded by those who are competent to give an opinion as forming a single homogeneous community. So according to him, it's a homogeneous community with common name, common descent. Some caste even claim divine ancestors, जो mythology में characters थे, उनके ancestors होने का भी दावा करते हैं. So according to E.A.H. Blunt, it is an endogamous or a collection of endogamous groups bearing a common name, membership of which is hereditary, imposing on the members certain restrictions in the matter of social intercourse, either following a common traditional occupation or claiming a common origin, and generally regarded as forming a single homogeneous community. So endogamy means getting married within a social group only. So he says it's an endogamous group and membership is hereditary, और उन पे कुछ restrictions impose किए होते हैं regarding social intercourse. They either have a common traditional occupation. So in modern India, caste is of course not defined by the occupation. People are free to choose their occupation. Even caste members भी एजुकेशन लेके कुछ प्रेस्टिजियस जॉब करने के लिए मोटिवेट करते हैं. सो ये एक अच्छी बात है. इंडिविजुअल क्वालिटीज़ को और एफर्ट्स को प्रोत्साहन देना, इट्स अ गुड थिंग. So they also claim a common origin and form a homogeneous community. Henry Maine, caste started as natural division of occupational classes and eventually upon receiving the religious sanctions became solidified into the existing caste system. The caste system comes into being when it becomes an integral part of the religious dogma, which divides the people into superior and inferior groups with different responsibilities, functions and standards of living. According to Green, caste is a system of stratification in which mobility up and down the status ladder, at least ideally, may not occur. Similarly, according to McIlver, when status is wholly predetermined so that men are born to their lot without any hope of changing it, then class takes the extreme form of caste. So ये जो by birth determination है, it makes it very rigid and there can be no hope of changing it. So according to G.S. Ghurye, the earliest account of caste system was given by the 3rd century BC foreign invader to India, Megasthenes. According to Megasthenes, two two elements of caste systems are there is no intermarriage and there can be no change of profession. So जो Megasthenes है, he was actually a Greek historian, diplomat and Indian ethnographer. He described India in the book Indica. So let's see the characteristics of caste system. According to Gurre, the following are the 6 characteristics of caste system. First is the segmental division of society. The society is divided into various castes with a well-developed life of their own, the membership of which is determined by the consideration of birth. The status of a person does not depend on his wealth, but on the traditional importance of the caste in which he had the fortune to be born. Caste is hereditary and it cannot be changed. There are regular caste councils to regulate and control the conduct of all caste members. This council rules over the whole caste and is the most powerful organization. The governing body of caste is called Panchayat, whose members meet whenever decisions related to caste are to be taken. It decides civil and criminal matters. It is a small and complete social world in itself, quasi sovereign body. The citizens owe their moral allegiance to the caste first rather than the community as a whole. तो बिकॉज ऑफ कास्ट सिस्टम सेगमेंटल डिवीजन हुआ सोसाइटी का ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ बर्थ. दे हैव देयर ओन सब कल्चर. सम ऑफ द कस्टम्स आर ऑल्सो डिफरेंट. हियर the status depends on the traditional importance of your caste and not on your personal talent or even the wealth. You must be fortunate to be born in the upper caste, so there was no control on your traditional status. It was basically predetermined. तो उनकी कुछ कास्ट, तो उनकी जो कास्ट काउंसिल भी होती थी, जात पंचायत जिसको हम कहते हैं. पंचायत मीन्स असेंबली ऑफ 5 पीपल, बट प्रैक्टिकली कुछ लोगों का ग्रुप होता है, नॉट नेसेसरीली 5 मेंबर्स हो, विच आर कंसिडर्ड वाइज एंड सम ओल्ड एक्सपीरियंस्ड पीपल एंड पावरफुल एल्डरली पीपल which were traditionally solving disputes between individuals and villages. Now such Jat panchayats have been disbanded by law, but still in some tribes in the period of fairs and festivals, Jat panchayats are held. Their decisions are considered very illogical, cruel and arbitrary. Amount of penalties are imposed. So this is not legal. This has been disbanded. So the second characteristics is the social and religious hierarchy. It has got a definite scheme of social precedence. Each caste has a customary name that helps to set it apart. The whole society is divided into distinct classes within a concept of high and low. The Brahmins in India stand at the apex of the social ladder. According to Manu, the Brahmins is the lord of this whole creation because he is produced from the purest part of the Supreme Being, Brahma, namely the mouth. By his mere birth as a Brahmin, a person is the living embodiment of the eternal law. A Brahmin is entitled to whatever exists in the world. The whole world is his property and others live on his charity. On the other hand, Shudras were subjected to manifold disabilities. They could not use the public roads nor avail themselves of public wells. They were forbidden to enter Hindu temples, to attend public schools. Servitude was permanent for them. So the castes are divided into traditional form of hierarchy from high to low level. और जो लोअर कास्ट पीपल है उन पे बहुत अन्याय होता था. इन फ्री इंडिया दिस सॉर्ट ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन इज नॉट अलाउड एक्चुअली. Even prohibition of untouchability is our fundamental right, Article 17. Next characteristics is restrictions on feeding and social intercourse. Another element of caste is the complex of taboos by which the superior caste try to preserve their ceremonial purity. Each caste develops its own subculture, thus there are restrictions on feeding and social intercourse, and minute rules are laid down with regard to the kind of food that can be acceptable by a person and from what caste. the theory that pollution being communicated by some caste members to other higher caste ones places severe restrictions on the extent of social intercourse. Thus there are restrictions with regard to social distances. तो एक ऐसा कंसेप्शन था कि पोल्यूशन इज कम्युनिकेटेड बाय सम लोअर कास्ट थ्रू सोशल इंटरकोर्स. सो इन ऑर्डर टू मेंटेन द सेरेमोनियल प्योरिटी the social intercourse was tabooed and the social distance was being maintained. So the next characteristics is the endogamy. A person born in a caste remains in it for life and dies in it. Every caste is subdivided into subcastes, every one of which forbids its members to marry person outside it. Thus each subcaste is endogamous. This principle of endogamy is so strict that Westermarck regards it as the essence of the caste system. There are few exceptions to this general rule of endogamy, which are due to the practice of hypergamy. Excepting the cases of hypergamy, each caste has to contract matrimonial alliances within its own limits. Any man violating this law is put out of his own subcaste. So endogamy is the integral part of the caste system. Every caste is endogamous and even the subcastes are also endogamous. So in some cases caste में भी subcaste होती है तो उनमें भी endogamy follow की जाती है. Except some cases of hypergamy. Hypergamy means getting married with a person of higher caste. Except such cases, जो भी इस रूल को वायोलेट करता है उसको आउटकास्ट किया जाता था. Outcasting is not seen in modern society, but still in some backward castes and traditional tribal castes, this thing is seen. So the fifth characteristic is the lack of unrestricted choice of occupation. Members of a particular caste are expected to follow the caste occupation. They cannot change to other occupations. No caste would allow its members to take any occupation which was either degrading like toddy tapping or impure like scavenging. It was not only the moral restraint of one's occupation, but also the restriction put by other castes whose members did not allow members of the castes other than own to follow their occupation. तो कास्ट मेंबर पे रेस्ट्रिक्शंस होते थे रिगार्डिंग ऑक्यूपेशन. दे कुड नॉट चेंज देयर ऑक्यूपेशन. जो भी उनका ट्रेडिशनल ऑक्यूपेशन है वही उनको करना पड़ता है. जो भी उनके हिसाब से डिग्रेडेड या इम्प्योर ऑक्यूपेशन है वो नहीं करने दिया जाता था. इवन जो लोग ऐसे ऑक्यूपेशंस करते थे वो भी रेस्ट्रिक्ट करते थे. तो सो इवन योर ऑक्यूपेशन वॉज प्री डिसाइडेड एंड इट वॉज नॉन चेंजिंग. Sixth characteristic is civil and religious disabilities. Generally, the impure castes are made to live on the outskirts of the city. All over India, the impure castes were not permitted to draw water from wells used by the members of other castes. The public schools did not admit impure castes. A Brahmin could not be punished with a capital punishment, and if was imprisoned, he was given a moral liberal treatment than the other classes. Bogle says that horror of misalliance, fear of impure contacts, and repulsion for all those who are unrelated are the characteristic signs of the spirit of caste. He further emphasizes that the spirit of caste in India unites the three tendencies of repulsion, hierarchy, and hereditary specialization, which gives a complete definition to the caste system. तो अपर कास्ट एंड लोअर कास्ट के लिए प्रिविलेजिस्ट एंड लॉज भी अलग थे. जो भी लोअर कास्ट या इम्प्योर कास्ट समझे जाते थे दे यूज टू लिव आउटसाइड द सिटी. पब्लिक स्कूल्स, वेल्स एंड पाथ्स वर नॉट परमिटेड फॉर देम एंड इवन पनिशमेंट्स फॉर क्राइम वर डिफरेंट. लोअर कास्ट वर गिवन सीवियर punishments, whereas Brahmins were given a liberal treatment. Even capital punishment was not given to Brahmins. तो जो थ्री टेंडेंसीज बताई गई है उसमें रिपल्शन फॉर ऑल दोज हु आर अनरिलेटेड टू द कास्ट. Also the castes were hierarchically arranged and they were hereditary in nature. So let's now study the functions of caste. First function is Maintaining purity of blood. Members of each caste follow endogamic restrictions in marriage, and as such, purity of blood is maintained. This is perhaps the reason that even today, pure Aryan race is found in India. Second function is preservation of culture. Each caste had its own customs, rituals, traditions, and ceremonies, and took pride in maintaining those cultural aspects. The cumulative effect of it was that the nation was in a position to preserve its culture and civilization. It will not be wrong to say that if India is today in a position to preserve its ancient culture, it is primarily due to the caste system. सो हर एक कास्ट का अपना एक कल्चर है, ट्रेडिशंस एंड कस्टम्स है. दे हैव मेंटेन्ड एंड प्रिजर्व्ड इट फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम बिकॉज ऑफ कास्ट सिस्टम. It resulted in efficiency. In the caste system, members of a particular caste followed their ancestral occupation. Therefore, from the very beginning, a person tried to attain utmost efficiency in his occupation, which he was to follow throughout his life. Furthermore, he enjoyed the benefit of accumulated experience which the ancestors had acquired after being engaged in the occupation for a very long period of time. So because they were doing the traditional occupation, they tried to attain efficiency from the very beginning of life, and also the experience of their forefathers was already with them. So the fourth function is it created division of labor. Each caste was required to perform the work assigned to it. The Brahmins were engaged in teaching, the Kshatriyas in defending the land, Vaishyas in trade and commerce, and the Shudras in serving all higher castes. This division of labor was the mainstay of the caste system, which greatly helped the smooth functioning of the traditional social system. The lower caste had to be contented with their occupation due to the doctrine of karma. So there was a division of labor. Everybody was doing the pre-decided job. So searching for a job was never a problem, and there was a smooth working of society. Enforced discipline. The caste system resulted in the maintenance of social and professional discipline. Thus was the apprehension that if social discipline was violated, one would earn the displeasure of different castes. Again, the members were afraid of the fact that if professional discipline was not cared for, they might earn the wrath of the professional community. This helped in enforcing social as well as occupational discipline, because doing the profession of other caste was prohibited. Sixth characteristic is development of the spirit of cooperation. The members of each caste developed a sense of unity for their own caste group. The feeling that any invasion by other caste on their superiority or any attempt at degrading their customs and rituals and traditions will be disastrous for the caste urged them to work in close cooperation with one another. In this manner, the caste system developed a sense and spirit of cooperation, and this provided the infrastructure for the advancement and betterment of the society. तो उनमें एक सेंस ऑफ यूनिटी एंड सेंस ऑफ कोऑपरेशन आ गया था इन ऑर्डर टू प्रोटेक्ट द सोशल ग्रुप. सेवेंथ function is it produced good citizens. It made an individual well behaved, well disciplined, and cooperative. It instilled in him the spirit of mutual help and made him ready to perform his work and discharge his responsibilities properly. Thus, it provided all the attributes of a good citizen. तो कास्ट मेंबर में एक डिसिप्लिन होती है, कॉपरेशन होता है. So this actually created good citizens for the society. Eighth function is it preserved the society. Due to the rigidity of the caste system, establishing relations with outsiders was avoided. Thus the system checked infiltration of all outsider cultures and preserved our social system despite many invasions and pressures on our culture and society. As we know, caste system is rigid and relations with outsiders were avoided, and so despite many invasions and pressure, the culture of the system was preserved, And moreover, the invaders also did not have any particular intention of changing our culture. But with time, after so many centuries, our culture is the same because of this system. Ninth characteristic is it saved wastage resulting from competition. In order to be established in a better vocation or profession, people waste much time in competitions. In the like manner, time is also wasted in adjusting of life. But the caste system conferred a fixed social status on the members of different castes, and thus one was well established in accordance with one's birth in a particular caste. Hence, no one was required to decide the occupation to follow in future life. As such, no time was wasted in competition and the energy saved for constructive purpose. So, in this manner, occupation was fixed. The person saved the time and unnecessary competition was not there. Tenth characteristic is it raised the standard of living. Due to the caste system, members belonging to different castes made great efforts to maintain their superiority and position, and thereby the caste system raised the standard of living of the people belonging to a particular caste. This in turn raised the standard of living of each caste, which was of great help to the society. So people try to visualize their caste as superior, and for this they also try to raise their standard of living, and this helped a lot for their progress. Next function is it generated the panchayat system. Under the caste system, each caste had its own panchayat, and disputes arising among the members of a particular caste were decided by caste panchayat. In course of time, this system became very stable and contributed to the evolution of panchayat system. Even today, this panchayat system has been accepted as ideal system in India due to its agrarian and rural structure. तो पहले जात पंचायत हुआ करती थी जो डिस्प्यूट्स सॉल्व किया करती थी ऑफ देयर कम्युनिटीज़ एंड वेरियस टॉपिक्स पे डिसीजंस भी होते थे. सो वी वर ऑलरेडी वेल एक्वेंटेड विद दिस पंचायत सिस्टम well before the Panchayat Raj system, which was introduced through the 73rd Amendment Act in 1992, which came into force with effect from April 1993. So, well before this amendment, we are well acquainted with the Panchayat system because of Jat Panchayats. Next function is it maintained political stability. The caste system acted as the political stabilizer in the sense that despite several changes and political upheavals, no significant influence could be exerted on the Hindus. The cultural patterns was preserved irrespective of the changing political setup, and S.C. Hill has said that the caste system prescribed and determined a form of social order which was entirely independent of the form of political government. तो हमारी जो caste system है, it was independent of the political system of the ruler. Because we has Jat Panchayat, a small autonomous unit, also outsiders were prohibited, so there was no external influence on our system. Next function is it fixed the social environment. It provided a fixed social environment and generated a feeling of security for the individual. It also helped the selection of the life partner within one's own caste. Moreover, the caste system provided employment by fixing up the traditional occupation and thus fulfilled the economic needs. There was a fixed social environment. It generated a feeling of security and cooperation and unity. It helped to select life partners within one's own caste, and also the occupation and employment was fixed, so there's no need to search for a job. The economic needs were fulfilled. So these are the functions of the caste systems. There are also the dysfunctions of the caste system. Let's see what are the dysfunctions of the caste system. First dysfunction is hindered the national unity. The caste system developed a parochial feeling and made the people unduly conscious of their own caste. Many a time caste interests were given priority over national interest. Thus the whole system stood against the very concept of national unity. It actually developed a parochial feeling. People became very narrow minded and more conscious of their own caste. Caste interests were given priority over national interest. So this actually divided the society on the basis of caste, which was against our national unity. Second dysfunction is resulted in suppression. In the hierarchical system, lower castes were suppressed by the higher castes. The Shudras and the outcasts were ill treated, and they were in the miserable condition. They were prohibited public places, public paths, wells, schools, even their shadows were considered profane by the higher castes. Interdining and intermixing with the lower caste was not allowed, and it was an exploitation of lower castes. Third dysfunction is it stood against democracy. The caste system ran contrary to the democratic spirit. As the caste system believed in inequality, and there was a hierarchical arrangement wherein the Brahmins were at the top and only the Kshatriyas could rule, whereas the Shudras were at the bottom of the ladder. Democracy, representatives from all sections of society take part, but caste and varna system believed in inequality of caste, inequality of status, where only Kshatriyas could rule and Shudras were excluded from all public affairs. Next is it hampered national development. Under the caste system, only a few got the scope to control the national life, that is, Brahmins and Kshatriyas, and the others were engaged in serving the higher castes. In the national interest, it is essential that all the sections of the society should contribute to the social welfare, but the downtrodden sections did not have any voice in the national development and advancement. Treachery. It resulted in treachery and the ultimate fall of the Hindus. In a traditional caste ridden society, the Shudras were fully aware that they could not prosper in the Hindu society. As a result, at the time of invasion by outsiders, some of them leaked out the strategic secrets to them. They also cooperated with the invaders. Their treachery ultimately became responsible for the fall of the Hindus. The lower caste were downtrodden, and there was not any way to escape from this exploitation because of the rigidity of the traditional caste system. So, as a result, they helped the foreign invaders. Sorry. It resulted in religious convergence. The dominions of Brahmins became intolerable on the part of Shudras, who were the most neglected people in the Hindu society. They were easily allured by the ideology and philosophy of Islam as well as Christianity. Many of them embraced new faith. In this way, the caste system contributed to the expansion of Jainism, Buddhism along with Christianity and Islam in India. तो इस्लाम एंड क्रिश्चियनिटी तो थे ही, लेकिन बुद्धिज़्म एंड जैनिज़्म को लोगों ने इसलिए स्वीकार किया क्योंकि हिंदुज़्म में बहुत कर्म कांड बढ़ गया था और लोअर कास्ट का एक्सप्लॉयटेशन भी हो रहा था. इन कंपैरिजन बुद्धिज़्म एंड जैनिज़्म की आइडियोलॉजीज़ जो थी वो देवर क्वाइट लिबरल एंड सिंपल. तो इसलिए इन ऑर्डर टू इस्केप देयर लोअर स्टेटस रिलीजियस कन्वर्जेंस टुक प्लेस. आपको फेमस एग्जाम्पल पता होगा व्हेन B.R. Ambedkar, द आर्किटेक्ट ऑफ आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, embraced Buddhism with his approximately 6 lakh followers, mainly scheduled caste, lower caste people, on 14th October 1956. So in this way, people thought religious conversion to be the solution to escape from the hostile behavior of upper caste. Next is it undermined the ability and aspirations of the people. Since in the caste system, one's status and role are fixed up from the time of one's birth, one's ability, personal endeavor, or diligence became meaningless in order to bring out any transformation. Because the caste system is rigid, one's status is fixed. So even when somebody has the ability and personal endeavors became meaningless in order to bring changes in the status. Next dysfunction is it created a false sense of prestige among higher castes. The higher caste believed that they had the monopoly of wisdom. They felt that all other castes should consult them and work for them. This created a wild gulf between the higher and the lower castes. तो एक फाल्स प्रेस्टीज क्रिएट हो गया था अमंग द हायर कास्ट और उनकी एक तरह से मोनोपोली क्रिएट हो गई थी. Next is it resulted in the creation of a class of idlers. The Brahmins, being at the top of the caste hierarchy, were supposed to teach and preach religion, but in course of time they became apathetic to their avowed profession and did not devote themselves to their task. They knew it very well that they would not be thrown out of their caste despite their insincerity. As a result, they began to live on the labor of other castes without any useful contribution to the society. Thus, a class of idlers came into existence in the Hindu social system. As there was no change in occupation and the status was based on birth and not on personal endeavors. So, people of higher caste started taking the prestige and status associated with the caste for granted, and they became idle about their work and began to live on the labor of lower castes. It resulted in the introduction of untouchability. Untouchability was started slowly in the Gupta period. The lower strata of the society, who were latrine cleaners or sweepers or outcast people, they were considered as untouchables. They were being exploited socio-economically and in the name of maintaining purity of religion. For this, social distance was being maintained and they were kept away from all other public affairs. Next is it gave a lower status to women. In the caste system, the women were utterly neglected. They enjoyed a very conservative and traditional type of status. They were denied the privilege of higher education. तो वेदास और शास्त्रों का पठन करना ये भी उनको प्रोहिबिट किया गया था. सो ऐसा नहीं है कि लोअर कास्ट में, अपर कास्ट में भी वुमेन की स्टेटस बहुत लोअर थी, बहुत मिजरेबल थी. They could not voice their opinion in public affairs. Customs of child marriage, sati, prohibition of widow remarriage were prevalent. Women enjoyed a very low status in the caste system. तो वुमेन की पोजीशन बहुत मिजरेबल थी. उनका खुद का कोई वॉइस नहीं था, उनको एजुकेशन नहीं मिलती थी, चाइल्ड मैरिजेस, सती, widow remarriages were prohibited. So all these types of disabilities were there and women were being exploited in the name of religion. One more dysfunction I would like to add here, as we discussed in the functions, purity of blood was maintained. There is endogamy within caste and subcaste. As we know, caste have a common name and common descent from a common ancestor. Because of endogamy within the caste, certain biological disabilities may arise and it's medically proved. So these are the characteristics and some functions and dysfunctions of the caste system. I hope it's clear to you all now. So in our next video we will discuss about the other two examples of the social stratification. Okay, thank you.